Family, it's your favorite queer radio personality, Anna DeShawn, here with season 2 of the award-winning Queer News Podcast. Now, I want to make you a promise. We will continue to bring you the latest in queer news, culture, and politics. So if you're digging our intersectional take on the weekly, consider joining the Qube Crew. The Qube Crew is our monthly membership program we started to help grow this podcast. You get weekly emails from me and exclusive interviews with LGBTQ influencers from across the country. With your support, we can bring you more stories celebrating our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and comrade communities. Family, it's your favorite queer radio personality, Anna DeShawn, with our queer news for today. Well, the news is that I'm still on break, but I will be back next week with our normal lineup of queer news stories to share, okay? But in the meantime, I do have a question for you. I would like to start a queer news tip line, a spot where you all can leave us voice notes about queer news stories happening that we should cover. Maybe things local to your area, maybe something that you see happening nationally. What do you think? I've posted a video on TikTok, IG, and Facebook about it, okay? I'd love for you to leave me a comment and tell me what you think. If you want to share more, DM me, leave me a voice note on the DMs. I just really want to cover the most important stories. And we know our sources are great, but you all are our source too. And so we want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. So let me know what you think. What you think about the Queer News Tip Line, okay? Also, I must tell you, our first Qube original podcast, Black HIV in the South, How Did We Get Here? It's good, y'all. Like, really good. The stories are so powerful. And the team, my team, they are freaking brilliant. Latrice Sampson Richards of STS Productions and Day Williams of Bird and Mac Creative Studio. Yo, the magic they are making in post-production and putting this together, y'all, I am praying that it has the impact I believe it can have in educating us and raising awareness about the crisis that is Black HIV in the South. This podcast is set to drop on Tuesday, February 7th, which is also National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. So this week we are doing a feed swap with the Grown Up Podcast. Now, the Grown Up Podcast is hosted by the homie Derric, and he talks about how life growing up is complicated, tough, and sometimes feels like you aren't doing your best. We know that, right? We know that feeling very well. Well, on the Grown Up Podcast, he talks about everything from mental health to relationships to his own journey, discovering his true self. I was really honored to join him on his last episode of 2022 as well. We talked about my work and all that good stuff. I hope you learn a little bit more about me and get to know Derric as well. If you enjoy the show, please tell a friend about queer news. And if you really dig it, please join the Qube Crew and become a monthly subscriber. You can check the link in the show notes. Also, in the show notes, you'll find links to Derric and his pod. Go follow, okay? You should do that. I will be back next week, family, okay? But until then, enjoy the Grown Up Podcast.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Grown Up Podcast, where you already know what we do. We talk about that grown up shit. I've sprinkled independent music in there. And of course, we highlight and celebrate independence all together. And today, I'm so excited to end the year off on a positive note, celebrating an independent woman who is doing her thing. I'm so excited, and I can't contain it. Obviously, you can see all over my face. And normally, I would have them introduce themselves and, give a little warm welcome. But I feel like she deserves an introduction. Okay, because she's got quite a lot of titles, and I'm excited to have her here. So without further ado, please help me welcome queer radio personality, founder of E3 Radio, which is an online independent radio station we'll be talking about a little bit later. She's also the founder of the Qube app, which we will also be talking about later. And she is also the host of the 3-time Black Podcasting Award-winning show, Queer News Podcast. Please help me welcome Anna DeShawn.
Oh, that was dope. That was dope. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Absolutely. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so good to be here with you. I mean, we've talked a couple times, so I'm honored to be on the show.
Yeah. Fantastic. I'm happy to have you here. And like I said, I wanted to end the year off with a positive bang, celebrating independence and letting people know we still out here and we strong, So let's get it started. So like Anna was mentioned earlier, we got connected around May this year when I reached out to request about my podcast be taken into consideration for the Qube apps. We'll be talking about that a little bit later, but just to give you guys kind of a little gist of what that is, it's basically a curation of music and podcasts by BIPOC and QTPOC creatives. So, Anna DeShawn, how did you manifest this moment where you obtained these titles and started making the impact that you're making right now?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. There's where to begin. If I started in the beginning, I've always loved the media. Always loved television. I always wanted to be the next Robin Roberts doing play-by-play announcing, sports announcing. Yes. She was who I looked up to when I was a kid, watching ESPN with my dad every night. This is still a thing.
Yes.
And so I just always wanted to be heard. And I was always very clear. And I can remember my parents putting me in journalism, like summer workshops. And that's what I went to school for. That's what I got my degrees are in communications, radio, TV production. And I was blessed enough when I left school and left my master's program to get into work where I was in the broadcasting field, but it was leveraging the internet versus a traditional medium. And so I worked in corporate America doing that for about 13, 14 years. And while doing my independent thing on the side in a passion project. And I just never let it go. When you're called to do something or you just feel like something is in your spirit and your gut, you just don't never let it go. I just never let it go. And, and when I quit corporate, my first month being full-time entrepreneurs in February of 2021, and so when that moment happened, I just decided to give everything I had been given to corporate for such a long time. And you know how much we'd be given to these jobs.
Oh, yes.
And I decided everything. We give it our time, our energy, our brain space, our mental capacity. Mm-hmm. And I decided everything. It takes everything. Mm-hmm. And I decided that I was going to give all of that back to myself and back into my work and to see what I could create.
That's right.
I just didn't want to live life with any regrets. And it's a roller coaster, but it's been an amazing ride.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Well, you kind of hit a little bit on my next question, which is when did you know broadcasting was your calling? But I guess more specifically, kind of describe the feeling, because I know some people, they feel like this is something that they want to do or they know that they can do, but something discourages them along the way, but they never lose that feeling. So if you could describe that feeling so people can know that that's something that they should understand to pick up the phone for and answer that calling.
100%. It's that thing that you just cannot let go. When I was an undergrad, I was doing play-by-play announcing, and I was going on that path, but it was clear that people in front of the camera did not look like me. There are not masculine of center women on television today. You can't. Definitely. Maybe you can name one. I think I can name maybe one, but we just don't exist, right? There's definitely a look and feel for a person who is on the 10 o'clock news who identifies as female. And that is not me, right? And then I had an opportunity to turn on Tom Joyner in the morning and do the weather and the traffic. And people would call in and say, I love your voice. I'm so glad you're on the station. And I was like, this is pretty dope. I can look like a bum. No one has to be worried about what I look like. And I can still talk to, thousands of people at any given time. It was a great experience. Believe me, we had our challenges. Okay, I was in college and Tom Joyner wakes up real early. Okay, I was not on time. Yeah. The station owner, we would get into it. Child, I think I even quit that. He probably still has the letter that I wrote when I quit. But the experience was really special. And I really loved radio. And I think my advice to folks is be less concerned about maybe what you think you should be doing and tap into what people compliment you on the most. What do people tell you they enjoy about you? What do people tell you they like about you? You know, what do people tell you that you're good at from their perspective? We can often not see ourselves the way other people see us. And one thing that's always been consistent is that people appreciated my leadership. People would tell me they loved my voice, or they like I was a great public speaker, or they always wanted me to talk, or they always wanted me to do the prayer. Like these are things that just always praying. People always were asking me to do these things. And eventually you have to sit in there like, well, maybe this is what I should be doing. Maybe it is, you know. We're always talented, and I think that's always the challenge. We're good at a lot of stuff, and so we be trying everything out. Yeah, you are. Yes. You're great at a lot of things, but what's that thing that other people think you're great at? And try putting all your time and energy into that one thing, not 10 things, not 5 things, not 3 things, that one thing. And I say that as someone who does multiple things, but they all tie in together. But like, you get what I'm saying. But like, just focus. Focus on that and execute that. You know.
Definitely. Okay, definitely. Well, I'm going to take a little bit of that advice as well, because I definitely dabble in 10 different things, but a few of them equal one. Yeah. So we'll try and I'm going to hone in, okay? Yeah. So my next question here is, why choose the independent route when so many others choose the quote-unquote easier path, meaning they sign with a company or they attach a well-known label to their name, or, you know, something like that really gets them faster exposure rather than, you know, the, so to speak, slow and steady race?
Sure. So in broadcast media, your path is start in small markets and work your way up. And I spent 6 years in very white towns. And I was just over it. I couldn't, at that point, I couldn't see myself continuing in small markets and still being okay. And that's a decision I had to make, that this broadcast path is the traditional way. It's just not going to work for me. I need to go home, back to Chicago. I need to see my people. I had missed my family. You know, I went to school for 6 years straight. And I was like, this can't, in Iowa and in Ithaca, New York. And I was like, I can't take a small market. And so for me, I couldn't think about starting somewhere small. I was like, I got to go home. I'll find something that works. And I did. And so that was really the definitive moment for me as to why I didn't go the traditional route for people in my career. But at the same time, I also was clear that I don't work that well taking orders from people. You know, I started in small. I always worked at a small company, and I ended up at a tech startup where they want you to be an independent thinker and they want you to be sort of more entrepreneurial in your work versus a stringent corporate environment. I just knew that was just not going to work for me. I have too many opinions about how I think something should run or be to, you know, really thrive in those types of environments. So I just always knew that I could not go the traditional route.
Right. Okay. Well, what advice do you have for people who may present, like, you know, the brand gets presented to them and they know that they don't want to, but they also want that instant gratification, so to speak, that is very much prevalent nowadays in society? What advice do you give to them to make, I guess, the best decision for them and really kind of stay authentic and true to themselves?
Nothing happens overnight. Someone said to me, "Man, Anna, you blew up overnight." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I started this station in 2009. If overnight is 13 years of work, then absolutely make it overnight success." But there's just no such thing. There's really just no such thing. You know, we're all just waiting on that one yes, right? We just need that one person, that one correct person at the right time to give us that yes, right? That's what we all wait on. I think we can look at other examples of this as well when we look at the Issa Raes of the world and the Lena Waifs of the world and the Ava DuVernays of the world. There's nothing overnight.
That's right.
You can literally follow the trajectory of their careers, you know, and you can, especially for Lena and Issa, you can start at YouTube.
Right.
There's nothing overnight about that.
Yes.
And I'd also say that it comes with a lot of risk. And that's really the biggest differentiator. Are you willing to take the risk? Are you in a position to take the risk?
Right.
Some people are not in a position to take the risk. You know, I'm sitting here and I can be very clear about my social location. I don't have children, right? It's me and my wife. Right. I am a caretaker, right? But I'm in a position where I can take significant risk and it not affect a whole lot of people, right? And I can hone in on that. So you really have to just tap into where you're at and not compare yourself with other people or what they do. But you'll definitely use people as examples. I use those 3 folks all the time as examples for me in my work. And that you just have to be incredibly consistent and be willing to take some risks.
Absolutely.
And be ready for I say a roller coaster, and I mean it. Be ready for when it comes down, okay?
Yes.
And how you handle that low moment and how you work yourself through it, because they happen all the time. I try to be as transparent as I possibly can in how I show up on social media and sharing that it's not always a win. Right. Like, yo, this sucks sometimes, okay? That's why it really does suck sometimes. Yes. That quote by Issa where she says entrepreneurship means that I did this shit. Like, like that's for real. Yes. There's always people. I never want to do anything alone ever again. There's always people who help support. But at the end of the day, if I stop today, this whole thing will stop. And that's a very real thing. So, that's right. Yeah. Hopefully I answered your question and all of that.
Yeah,
but
you definitely did. You definitely did. I try to do the same thing with the Grown Up podcast where, yes, there's these very much highs of, oh my gosh, I started this podcast. People are reaching out. I have these guests and all that. But then there's these incredible lows where I'm experiencing these personal things in my life. And I'm also putting that on the podcast and saying, hey, these are also things that I'm going through as well. It's not always the great. It's also the bad. And you have to take both of those things and hone into yourself and create the person that you want to be out of both of those things, not just the great, you know. So you definitely hit it. So let's get into E3 Radio and the app. Okay, yes, so excited. I want to talk about it. So tell us about E3 Radio and the movement behind forming the app as an extension of the online radio station.
100%. So E3 Radio, we're an online radio station playing queer music and reporting on queer news. We host the award-winning Queer News podcast where we talk about the intersections of race and sexuality when it comes to politics, culture, and entertainment. Yes. I love radio. I just love radio. I grew up with it. Chicago's a big radio city, and I just love the relationships that people had and still do have with their radio hosts. It's just so different than television. It's so much more intimate. There's an opportunity for you to get to know people.
I agree, yeah.
And in conversations about 4 years ago, me and my co-founders, which just happened to also be my best friends, were talking about how do we continue to remain relevant? Like, what direction do we want to go with the station? And then we started talking about podcasting. And for many, many years, I fought against the podcasting movement. People were like, oh, you got a podcast? I'd be like, no, I have a radio show. Do you hear what I'm saying? I have a radio show. It is live. You catch me at a certain time. Right. But we were online and we always had an RSS feed. So yes, we were technically podcasting, but not in the same way that I podcast today. But we started talking about podcasts and just how difficult it was to find new things to listen to that were by Black folks, that were by Black queer folks, and where are our creatives? And we just kept talking about it, and maybe we could be part of the solution because we knew we wanted to create an app for the radio station to make it easier for people to listen on the go. Right. And then it became, well, maybe we solve both of these problems at the same time. And then it just evolved from there. The name originated because mathematically E to the third power is to cube something.
Yes.
And then we put a Q on it to make it hella queer. So that's where the name comes from.
Dope.
And it is truly a direct pivot from the radio station into the podcasting space.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited about the problems we're going to be able to solve with the Qube. And there's a couple. One, ownership, period. We need more Black folks' ownership of media, more Black queer folks' ownership of media, more women. I mean, let's just tap into all my intersections there. But then also creating more content at the intersections of race and sexuality in the podcasting space and telling our stories in all the verticals and all the ways. And so we're going to be doing that with our Qube original content, which I'm so excited about, that we're going to be dropping in 2023. And then I'm really excited about the podcast. I'm so excited about that. And then there's the discoverability part, right? So we've accepted 94 podcasts into the platform. I can't wait to drop one of these platforms here soon. So people can begin discovering all this great content that's out here, right? The problem is we cannot find it. It's not that it doesn't exist. Exactly. The data shows us that 43% of the market identifies as BIPOC, as Black, Indigenous, or people of color, 43%. But when I look at the top 100 list, there's 4 of them. How is that even possible? Right. It's just been clearly a lack of investment. We're here to change that with the Qube. And I'm really excited about being able to solve these problems that help to tell our stories out here in the world.
Absolutely. I very much appreciate you and all that you're doing. And if y'all don't, I don't know what y'all doing. Y'all gotta tune in and tap in, okay? Because this is beautiful. This is something that we need. This is, you know, when people create something and it goes unnoticed, it's insane. And like you said, like when people said, "Oh, you just blew up," that is mind-blowing. And that's why I love doing this podcast, because I'm like, how are you not seeing these people? Hello? Like, shine the light on these people. This is what we need to do. We need to shine the light on each other and uplift each other and tell each other, yes, I see what you're doing and I love this shit. I also love the shit that this other person is doing too, and this other person is doing too. And we can all be okay with that and uplift each other and not have to keep tearing each other down and, you know, feeling like some people aren't being heard and others are just being completely shut out and all of this stuff. Like, it doesn't make any sense. We can open up the dialogue and, you know, and be more open. And so I much appreciate everything that you're doing. And, you know, I hope after this episode, you get a bunch of love and people telling you the same thing as well. Okay. So, my next question here is, what are your goals as far as your independent journey that you're currently taking right now and with the radio station and the app?
I love goals.
Yes. I got a great question.
I love goals. Yes. I freaking love goals. I'm a Virgo. I like writing things down and checking things off. With all that being said, I have goals that shift, right? And so I'm all about a pivot, but I am clear that every year I set particular goals for every part of my life. Right. You know, when you're coming out, before you come out, you really live a compartmentalized life. Some people know this, some people know that, some people don't know anything. Right. And how that translates into how you live is bananas. And you don't dig into it until you go to therapy, okay? But you just realize how everything is so compartmentalized.
Talk about it.
Mind-blowing, okay? Yes. And so my goals are compartmentalized in some ways as well, but I recognize it, okay? And so I have goals for E3. I have goals for the Qube. I have goals for my personal life. I have goals for my marriage. I have goals for my family and how I show up for my family and those that I care about the most, right? And so I have goals across my entire life because all of it is very important, and all of it makes up who I am. That's right. And it also keeps me focused on what I need to be executing. And I think that oftentimes we don't set goals and for every aspect of our lives, and then things fall apart because we aren't being intentional about how we show up in those spaces. And so I journal, and I have my mastermind book, and I set these yearly goals and then give myself an opportunity to achieve them on a monthly basis. And then I set weekly goals as well. So I have goals at every stage because I will lose focus. Right. My mind is busy. I'm a creative. We always got another idea that will set me off and completely lose focus. Absolutely. And then I look up and I'm just like, oh, I never hit this goal. I forgot all about it, And so I do my best to be intentional about the goals that I set. Right. If I'm talking specifically about E3 and the Qube, in general, our goals for 2023 are to raise brand awareness, to build trust with our listenership, right? We want to build up in our revenue stream so that we can empower more of our ecosystem of Black, brown, queer folks who are creating this content. Right. So, for me, those are our major goals.
That's beautiful. And
I think if we build the brand and build the trust and create great content, then all the other things, listenership and revenue, will come.
Absolutely.
So in general, those are mine. Right.
All right. That's beautiful. Okay. What keeps you motivated on a daily basis, and how do you stay grounded tasking yourself with a huge responsibility like reporting queer news? Because it is certainly not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy. What keeps me grounded, my family keeps me grounded. They make sure of that. What keeps me motivated is wanting to make them proud, wanting to make my community proud. Right. I don't know what people think. I don't know what people think when I say it, but I'm just being honest. I do find it to be an honor to be of service to my community in the way that I am with queer news. It means a lot to amplify our stories, and it means a lot to me. That's why I started this work, because I just never felt like anybody was giving us the time that we deserve. And they just want us to be quiet and invisible. And that's never who we've been, no matter what makes you comfortable, right? So I take a lot of pride in amplifying our stories and the good stories, and not doing what traditional media does, which is, what bleeds is what leads. Right. That's the saying in the business. And I don't want to talk about what's bleeding all the time. We get enough of that other places. So I take a lot of pride in amplifying the stories that give us some joy and some happiness. And it's just a real honor for me to do that.
That's awesome.
And so, being of service matters to me and motivates me, making my family proud, my community proud. When people, when the elders tell me like, you did good, I know they mean it because they don't say it. So Chicago is a tough city. You know what I'm saying? They tough. They've been through a lot, and I look up to them. The things that they did, the barriers that they broke through across the board. Like, I look up to so many of them, and when they look at me and they see me, they were like, you did good. Keep doing it. I was like, okay, I'm all right. I'm doing all right.
I know that feeling. Okay. So as we wrap this up here, my final question for you is, any advice for people looking to tap into their inner independent self?
Yes. Read this book called The Big Leap. I think it's brilliant because, and also let me just also say this. I don't read, I listen. So don't be like, oh, she a reader. No, not really.
Before you get into the rest of that thought, what's crazy is I've been telling myself I want to read so badly. I read maybe like 2 books, and now I'm like, I need to listen to these books. It's crazy.
I'm just telling you, okay? I be having to stop myself because you think of a book. Okay. But yes, homie, read it, okay? Audible will give you that free credit. I wait to build up my credits and be like, let me get these right here on my wait list, wish list, whatever they call it. But so for anybody that's listening, that you're looking to do something independent, you got to listen or read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I think it's a beautiful entryway to you figuring out exactly if you're ready to take the big leap. And in that book, he talks about upper limiting and what it means to be in your zone of genius. And he talks about these other zones and all these other things. I'm not giving away the book. But what really helped me was figuring out if I was ready to take the big leap. And when I take that big leap, how am I going to prevent myself from upper limiting? And by upper limiting, he means like a good example I use all the time is you go on and you try to diet and you lose them 10 pounds, but then you gain them 10 pounds back over and over and over again. Or you're in a great relationship and then all of a sudden you all spark an argument and now you're fighting and you don't know why. And every time you get to this point in this good relationship, all of a sudden you start to fight and you don't know why. These are like what he would define as upper limiting ourselves. We get to a place of something really good and we don't know what to do with it. And so we self-sabotage. But there's reasons why we self-sabotage. There's learned behavior that we haven't tapped into. Right. There's things that we have internalized that we have pushed back somewhere. But then you hit these moments of joy in your life and these experiences impact how you continue to move forward. Right. And let me tell you, if you start jumping out here and you're not clear about who you are, what you're looking to do, your why, you will continue to upper limit yourself and you will be going on a hamster wheel instead of like an upper trajectory of where you're looking to go. So I would say jump into the big leap and then do Rachel Rodgers, Everyone Should Be a Millionaire.
Okay, y'all heard the woman. Yeah. Okay, tap into your independent self. Listen or read these books and listen to yourself. You know, listen to that voice inside your heart, your mind that's telling you this is what I want to do. You know, and it's hard, like we both saying. It's tough. It's a roller coaster, up and down, but we both here. You know, and I'm so glad that you joined me today, and I'm overjoyed, excited. I really, really appreciate you. And do you have any final thoughts that you want to put out there? Any personal shout outs you want to give? And please, 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 for people who don't go to the description, tell your social media and where they could go, the website link for the radio station.
For sure. So I guess my final thought would be just continue to do things like this. Listening to, Derric's podcast Grown Up Podcast is like a great way for you to begin to tap into, you becoming your better self, right? So I say, keep doing that. Never stop learning. Yes. No one knows everything. And push past your ego and all those things that are holding you back, self-sabotaging. Leave all that stuff behind and continue to learn and be open to all the possibilities. We just don't know. We don't know what's going to happen today or tomorrow, like quite literally. Yes. You put yourself out here in the world and you trust that the divine, whatever that is to you, is holding you, on this journey. And you really have to tap into that. You have to tap into your faith muscles. Because when you're taking these risks, that's all you got. All you got is you and your faith, in my opinion. So tap into whatever that divine is for you.
I agree. 100%.
You should read the description. Okay. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of good stuff in there, but if you're not, you should follow me at Anna DeShawn across all the socials. Choose your favorite one and go be great there. Yes. And same for E3 Radio, either number 3 Radio, and then the Qube app. So the Qube app across socials as well. And we're going to be building up our social presence going into next year as we drop our content and all those other good things. So definitely be on the lookout and share all the good things you like.
Yes. Whoop, whoop. I'm so excited. Y'all heard the woman. Go check out everything. Follow her. Follow the app. Follow the radio station. Tune in to Queer News podcast, radio, all of that. Y'all need to just tune in. Like independence, we are here and we're busting the door down. And 2023, we coming through, okay? And I'm trying to end this 2022 off positive and strong and celebrating independence. And I'm so excited. Thank you so much once again, Anna DeShawn, for joining me. And we gonna keep it pushing, everybody. This would really be in the Naturally on the Wave segment, because you naturally on your wave. So I'm gonna put that in the description, because let's get technical here. You really are naturally on your wave. You are in your now, and we're celebrating you. So like I said, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Y'all make sure you go to the description, check her out. Please, please, please click all of those links. listen to the radio station. And yeah, I'm inspired. I hope y'all are. And yeah, let's continue to celebrate independence, y'all. I appreciate you once again. And please make sure you're staying tuned with the Grown Up Podcast. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, and we out of here.